Part 9. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 82. The mission of this trip was somewhat similar to that of Swordsman, which made Lily feel a little confused. When she returned to the space, the handsome man in splendid robes and jade crown had been waiting for a long time. His body seemed to be getting worse now. It became more and more like substance, no longer as light and transparent as before. Lily paused and straightened her back. The handsome man nodded at her. "You did a good job." Lily was a little confused. "Actually, I don't know what I have done." She seemed to have done nothing, but she had lived a peaceful life. There were no natural disasters and no violence. She was baffled as to how the task was completed. This feeling of being unable to find the bottom made Lily feel a little insecure, which made her instinctively stretch out her hands to wrap around her shoulders, with a confused look on her face. Pangenlian herself is a person without any opinion. She has no opinion in life, and even in death she has no opinion. The man rarely answered Lily's words. What he said was meaningless, but Lily vaguely seemed to understand something. It means that she feels a little unwilling to accept it, but she doesn't know what she is unwilling to accept, and she doesn't know what she wants me to fulfill for her. Therefore, I will live for her in this life and have my own ideas about everything. She doesn't have to rely on others anymore. It's not like marrying Wu Dalin, nor like marrying into the Ximen mansion. Even in the end she thought she wanted to marry Wu Song. It was just someone else's suggestion and she agreed. What she said was a little messy, but the handsome man understood what she meant and nodded. She herself can't be as strong as you, so your task is to be the backbone of her life and let her know that she can have her own life without relying on anyone. Lily understood. He nodded and fell silent. He couldn't help but change his mind about Pangenlian. In fact, she probably just wants to live on her own for once. She doesn't want revenge. It should be that Pangenlian's wish is that she has the final say in her life. She no longer has to let others arrange everything for her like in the plot. She seems to have no backbone. Lily can complete this mission no matter what. In fact, she has done so many missions. The first mission was that the mother wanted revenge, the second wish was that the original owner wanted to save the Beijia family and defeat Mo Changtang, and in the subsequent missions, whether it was Yu Lingshan from the Swordsman or Mija Shitai, they would always have your own unfulfilled wishes. Yu Lingshan hopes that Lin Pingzi will fall in love with her. Extinction hopes to carry forward Ime. But Pangenlian was the only one who wanted to live a good life without having to be arranged by others, just like she no longer had to be decided by Zhang Dehu to marry Wu Dalin. It was Wang Po who decided to sell her to Ximen Qing, and in the end she was harmed. The death of Wu Dalin and the origin of all events. In fact, the bottom line is that Pangenlian herself is too weak. Living too much is just going with the flow. Pangenlian's requirements were lower than those of everyone Lily had ever done. She originally thought this one would be the most difficult. Lily sighed, and the extremely handsome man said, "The mission is just a mission. I hope you stick to your original intention." After he said this, he waved his sleeves, and a sudden breeze came from the space that was originally static except for the starlight, bringing with it a cold breath. Lily's information quickly appeared on the starry sky. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 56, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 13, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, Cooking. Charisma, 23, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. This time Lily found that she not only had a little increase in the attribute value of the force column, but also saw cooking skills in the specialty column. She glanced at the man in surprise. "I actually have a specialty." The man nodded and said expressionlessly, "You have practiced your cooking skills diligently during this mission, and you have already acquired basic cooking skills." Hearing the word junior, Lily couldn't help but be surprised. Does this mean that the attribute value of this cooking skill can also be increased? The man paused for a while and then nodded. When he was about to speak, Lily suddenly seemed to remember what's the matter. He quickly asked, "By the way, I always felt grumpy during this mission, as if I was out of control. Could you please tell me what the reason is?" Okay, a slight smile appeared on the corner of the man's mouth this time, as if he had already expected that Lily would ask this question one day, and said calmly, "That's because the original owner's mental power is too strong, and the reason why you are too weak will naturally be affected." Lily didn't expect to hear such an answer. Her eyes widened suddenly. Just when she was about to speak, the man asked, "You have completed your task very well. I can give you a point. Where do you want to add it?" Having gone through so many missions, Lily was not too stupid to understand people's eyes. She knew that the mysterious man probably had no patience to talk anymore. She hesitated and bit her lip. "Wisdom. Because she is not very intelligent, she knows how to observe people's emotions. When she knows that others are impatient, she will not continue to ask questions ungratefully. Whether she can survive is because she begged this mysterious man instead of others begging her. Lily has never been the smartest. So she never dares to play tricks with others. Her greatest advantage should be that she is extremely self-aware, rather than pretending to be smart without knowing the heights of the world." There was a meaningful smile on the corner of the handsome man's mouth, and his slender red phoenix eyes were now a little brighter. He saw Lily's eyes dimming, but he didn't say anything more. When the figure disappeared into the starry sky, Lily saw that the information above became: gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 57, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 13, out of 100 points. Spirit, 11, out of 100. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialty, Beginner Cooking Skills. Charisma, 23, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. Seeing her own information above, Lily discovered that the column Spirit had reappeared in the information, and she didn't know if it was the information that the mysterious man had accidentally revealed. Her specialty column, Cooking Skills, had been changed to Junior Cooking Skills. It can be seen that there is still room for growth. She was silent for a while, and then the disappearing man's voice came over. The initial value of mental power is only 0, but because you controlled yourself in this mission, it increased a little. Congratulations on discovering mental power, so the initial and final reward is 10. Lily originally thought that her data value was only that. Unexpectedly, it seems that now I know that there are many things hidden that I don't know. She had lived for so many years, and she thought she had done a lot of tasks. This was the first time she realized that, not to mention that there were many things in the world that she didn't understand, but there were still many things hidden in the tasks that she didn't know. Just as Lily was about to speak, the man said coldly, "Want to go on another mission?" If it was something he should tell himself, he would probably tell himself. If it was something he didn't want to say, it would be useless for Lily to ask. On the contrary, it would make people annoying because of it. She simply nodded. Naturally, every move in the space could not be hidden from the sight of the strange man. Her body swayed lightly. I wonder if it was her own illusion. When she entered the body again, Lily's previous dizzying feeling was still there, but it had faded a lot when a huge plot unfolded in my mind. Although I still had a splitting headache, it felt much better than the unbearable pain in the past. Lily guessed whether these reasons were the benefits of changes in mental power, and she decided to ask the mysterious man the next time she returned to space. Someone seemed to be saying something around me, and a tearing pain came from my lower body. It took a long time before I heard someone say, "Go and tell the young marshal quickly, the young lady's pregnancy cannot be saved." A lot of plots flooded into her mind, and her head hurt when she took it in again this time. However, Lily could still hear the movement outside and the voices of others talking, so she couldn't help but relax and accept the plot while being multitasking. Something seemed to have slipped out of her lower abdomen, and she could only hear someone sighing, "It's too bad, it's just a formed male fetus." Lily felt a sharp pain in her heart, and she felt that she was letting others scrub her. There seemed to be only one cry in my heart, "My child." The plot this time was relatively large, so it took a longer time to absorb it. By the time Lily finished absorbing everything in her mind, it was already night when she opened her eyes with a splitting headache. It was dark outside, an oil lamp was lit in the room, and a girl with 2 pigtails lying on the table next to her was sleeping. The smell of blood lingered in the room for a long time, and Lily couldn't help but give a silent bitter laugh, feeling a cold feeling in her lower abdomen. The cold hurt, and she tried hard to prepare to practice martial arts again. During this mission, she also became a newly married woman named Tang Bei. The original husband of this body was Ye Jinjin, the only son of Ye Kailiang, the largest warlord in South China. The background of this time: it was in the Republic of China. It is conceivable that in the real history, there is no Nanhua region and there is no warlord named Ye Kailiang. Therefore, the background of this era is imitation of the Republic of China and should be a fictional story. And Ye Changjin is the biggest villain among them. He kills innocent people indiscriminately and is ruthless. He kills people if he disagrees with them, and he also wants to eradicate the roots. His actions are very extreme. He was originally from a very high background. Ye Kailiang was originally the governor of South China before the founding of the country. Once the feudal rule fell, Ye Kailiang used the resources at his disposal to quickly establish his own power and became one of the largest warlords in the entire country of China. Ye Changjin was his only son. At the age of 21, he married Tang Bei, who was different from the Ye family and had real power, but had an excellent reputation and came from a well-established family. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 83. The background of the story is roughly the same as the real history. It is also a Japanese invasion, and Ye Jinjin became the most ambitious person among them. He is on the line with foreign forces, and the two sides cooperate to win and benefit each other. He is a great villain in the plot. But the whole plot does not revolve around the story between Tang Lily and Ye Changjin. Compared with Ye Changjin's sinister and powerful appearance in the story, Tang Lily is just an insignificant character who died miserably in the end. Ye Changjin is powerful and aloof from the moment he appears. The plot begins when a very humble character named Lu Xianlin in Nanhua City offends him. Lu Xianlin was originally from a poor family, and some of his Lu family ancestors had been elected. However, when the old government fell, his family gradually declined. Lu Xianlin was a very clever man. He made a living by running errands for people in brothels. His parents died early, leaving only a sister who was 4 or 5 years younger than him. The 2 brothers and sisters had a grandmother to take care of them. After being raised, he started working as a waiter in a brothel. When the turmoil broke out later, he made a fortune by picking up dead people. When Ye Changjin was assassinated one time, he accidentally offended Ye Changjin and ruined Ye Changjin's good deeds, so he was resented by him. According to Ye Changjin's petty and vindictive character, Lu Xianlin offended him by more than just apologizing. He found someone to dress up as a bandit and rushed into Liu's house, but did not kill Lu Xianlin. Instead, he killed his sister and his only grandmother. At the same time, he was also affected by a family named Ma who lived next door to his house. There is a little girl in Ma's family who grew up with Lu Xianlin's childhood sweetheart. The relationship between the two was very deep. They had originally agreed to marry the Qin and Jin families when they grew up. Unexpectedly, something unexpected happened overnight. Lu Xianlin was shocked. Naturally, he wanted to take revenge. In the process of seeking revenge, Lu Xianlin gradually matured. He started from scratch and could not match Ye Jinjin from the beginning. Later, it became one of the forces that could compete with Ye Jinjin. In the process of revenge, Lu Xianlin met his beloved girl from the Ma family again. It turned out that she was not dead, but in that accident, her parents and relatives also died, leaving her alone to take revenge. She changed her name to Lu Rong and sneaked into the Tang mansion. She was taken in by people from the Tang mansion and became Tang Lily's personal maid, and finally married into the Ye family with Tang Lily. She tried her best to get revenge, but there were many people around Ye Changjin and he was very defensive, so she never found a chance. But she hated Ye Changjin in her heart, and naturally she also hated Tang Beihe, who was his wife. Therefore, he attacked Tang Beihe many times, causing her to miscarry twice. In the end, during the battle of wits and courage with Ye Jinjin, she gradually came to look at her differently and admire her. But Ma Rong did not give up her hatred because of Ye Changjin's appreciation. She gave her body. After Tang Lily failed to conceive a child several times, she planned to let Ye Changjin get her body. And gave birth to his only son, so that Ye Jinjin could relax his vigilance towards her. In the end, she and Lu Xianlin met, and the two in love plotted behind the scenes, one attacking from the outside and the other supporting from the inside. Lu Xianlin began to shine in the business world, and he also began to contact various countries and arm himself. Ma Rong got a strange medicine from Lu Xianlin, and she used herself to give birth to Ye Changjin's only son. She had the opportunity to get close to Ye Changjin's mother, who soon fell ill and died. When Ye Kailiang lost his wife, she began to wander around in front of him, and finally made Ye Kailiang fall in love with her intelligence and intelligence. Feeling, and then using Ye Kailiang to restrain Ye Changjin, taking advantage of this opportunity, Ma Rong finally got the chance to take revenge, but she was unwilling to just kill Ye Changjin, so she decided to let Ye Changjin follow her in the same pain. She gave the unconscious body of Ye Jinjin's wife Tang Lily to the group of foreigners who cooperated with Lu Xianlin. In the end, Tang Lily couldn't bear the blow after being gang-raped and hanged herself to death. After Ma Rong killed Ye Changjin, she dragged her body and left her and Ye Changjin's son and Lu Xianlin to fly away, and began to devote her passion to the cause of the revolution, and finally became the founding father of China. The second hero who has made great achievements. At the end of the plot, she is praised for having Empress Lu's methods, Diao Chan's scheming, and 11 Shi's beauty. The time Lily arrived at this time happened to be the time of her first slip. What is quite different from the plot is that Ye Changjin attaches great importance to her as his married wife. He is not just playing with Tang Beihe as the plot indicates, but he has true love for Ma Rong. If a vicious man like Ye Changjin was the only one who still had respect, it should be with Tang Lily. Ma Rong could find the opportunity to climb into his bed, probably because of Tang Lily's help. She is Tang Beihe's personal girl. Tang Beihe and she are like sisters. She has suffered several miscarriages without ever doubting the people around her. Although Ye Changjin said he takes care of his wife, he is a man and cannot be here all day long. The most important thing about wandering around the inner house was that he couldn't bear Tang Beihe's sadness, so he didn't thoroughly check Ma Rong, which gave Ma Rong an opportunity to take advantage of. When Ma Rong climbed into his bed, she did so in order to give birth to a child for Tang Beihe and then raise her so that she could have heirs. This excuse was what really touched Ye Yanjin and made him willing to drag her down. The real reason why Ma Rong went to bed. In addition to the love and hatred in these troubled times, the two biggest selling points in the plot are the various passionate descriptions between Ye Changjin and Marong, and there are a lot of hot plots, all kinds of cruel and scumbag. He was ruthless to Marong but abused her body. Because of this, it is estimated that Ye Changjin's ruthlessness set off Lu Xianlin's deep love and righteousness, and then set off Marong's awe-inspiring righteousness. Lily was lying on the bed now, unable to regain consciousness for a long time. She had already done quite a few missions, but the first time she encountered such a sadistic person, she simply couldn't get over it. Because of Ye Changjin's respect for the original owner, Tang Beihe was originally a gentle woman, and she was also deeply affectionate for Ye Changjin. After marrying him, because she could not give birth to a child for him, the two miscarriages caused more than just her physical damage. More importantly, it caused her the harm of habitual miscarriage, which made her no longer able to contribute to the Ye family. She was already extremely guilty in her heart, but once she ran into the good relationship between Ye Yanjin and Marong, she silently swallowed this bitter pill. She chose to remain indifferent to the affairs between her husband and Marong, and she also cared carefully about the only son Marong gave birth to. Unexpectedly, she was such a woman who had nothing to do with the world and came from a scholarly family. A girl who regarded her integrity and chastity as more important than her life was eventually gang-raped. No wonder she couldn't figure it out and hanged herself. This mission may not be difficult, but it's not that difficult at all. Lily sighed. The girl lying on the table had already sat up. "Young lady is awake," she said with some restraint. "Young lady is thirsty. But is there anything you want to eat?" She was waiting beside Tang Beihe. One of the girls was given to the servants she served by Ye Changjin personally after she married into the Ye family. She was also a member of the Communist Party, commonly known as the Underground Organization. In fact, she has already been connected with Marong and has been buried in the Ye family for many years. Even Ye Changjin never thought of doubting her at first, so she was very trusted in the Ye family, but she was the most loyal to Marong. She was involved in Lily's 2 miscarriages, and it was precisely because she served Tang Lily after the miscarriage that she was one of the main culprits that caused Tang Lily's body to become increasingly weak and eventually severely damaged. Now that I see it, enemies are extremely jealous when they meet. Lily's main mission is to fulfill the original owner's wish, and since the original owner has twisted from kindness and innocence to resentment and entanglement, naturally, she also wants to hate what she hates and feel what she feels. Where did Lu Rong go? Lily sat up. At this moment, because of her original body data, although she also felt a stomachache, she was not as weak as the original owner, which meant that she could feel this body. Everything but the data is her own. At this time, Tang Lily had finished her miscarriage, which was the time when she was suffering from both qi and blood loss. But for Lily, there was no loss of qi and blood at all. Therefore, although she was in pain, she was not like Tang Lily in the plot who had finished her miscarriage. "I have been lying in bed for nearly half a year." Hearing Baihe come together, he asked about the news about Lu Rong. The girl Qiuju showed a bit of panic on her face. Marong changed her name to Lu Rong and wanted to avenge Ye Yingjin. At this moment, Baihe had a miscarriage and it was Marong. When Marong went to seduce Ye Yanjin as planned, it was precisely because of this that Tang Beihe in the plot heard that her husband did not come to see her after the miscarriage. Instead, she was last seen with Marong. Heartbroken, as a woman, she instinctively felt something was wrong, but she generously chose to forgive and comfort herself. But Lily was different from the original owner. Seeing that Qiuju remained silent after she asked her question, she quickly shouted, "Come here!" There were several soldiers with long guns guarding outside Lily's door. Ye Changjin had always regarded her very seriously and protected her in every possible way. Now she shouted. Outside, the soldiers heard the movement in the room and rushed in with guns in hand. Qiuju was startled and lowered her head, but she began to feel uneasy in her heart. Please come over, Marshal, and say that I have something to tell him. I remember that this woman pushed me when I fell down and took her down for interrogation. The original owner was too weak. She had a miscarriage this time. Because of this was Marong's first time to engage in such ruthless revenge. She was not used to it and was full of flaws. First, she gave her a medicine that could make the fetal position unstable, and finally pushed her hard and made her fall to the ground. The belly was just underneath, so miscarriage occurred. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 84. It was precisely because of such a tragic situation that Tang Bei herself was injured, and when she was served by Qiuju, she was already weak and could not bear this, and even suffered permanent illness. The original owner was crying to save the fetus at first. Marong had already bribed the people around her, and she was planning to use her status to take revenge. How could she have the chance to give birth to a child? If she hadn't known that this would happen. One death of her son Tang Bei, one corpse, and 2 lives. Ye Changjin's crazy character would never let it go. Tang Bei had already died during the 2 miscarriages. Although the original owner survived successfully, she believed Marong's words when she woke up, thinking that it was her own accident that caused her fall. Marong later rushed to make a pair of very slippery shoes, and she naively believed it. I didn't doubt it at all, but I felt painful and blamed myself for a long time. If Marong hadn't told her personally in the end, I'm afraid the original owner would have been kept in the dark even after he died. Qiuju, as one of Marong's subordinates who want to serve the underground party together with Marong, Marong's plan still needs her help, so naturally it is impossible to hide it from her. Because of this, she clearly knows how Tang Bei fell. She didn't know how she lost her child, but she had been serving Tang Bei for a while, and she knew that the young marshal's wife was just a piece of dough, as if made from flour, had no personality at all, and was very kind. Originally, she couldn't bear to hurt Tang Lily, but when she thought that in order to succeed in the revolution, she had to sacrifice her personal self to fulfill her greater self, she cruelly harmed her. But what Qiuju didn't expect was that Tang Lily, who had always been gentle and kind, and was reluctant to trample an ant to death, would now accuse her of being the murderer who pushed Tang Lily down. Qiuju was immediately blinded. She was trained as a child. In order to capture the land of Nanhua, I have followed Ye Changjin for many years, and I know well that this man has a temperamental and unrecognizable temperament. If he suspects that he may be a traitor, I am afraid that given his character, he would rather kill someone wrong than kill him. If you let it go, you will definitely not survive. Although Qiuju had already made up her mind to sacrifice everything for the revolutionary cause, death was lighter than a feather and heavier than Mount Tai, not to mention that there were several types of death. Ye Changjin was not an upright man at all. If he wants to die, he must live or die. Her parents are still in the Ye family. By then, she may die in an unclean condition, and she may even implicate her parents. When she thought of this, Qiuju wanted to sacrifice her life for the revolution again. He couldn't help but turned pale with fright, and immediately knelt down towards Lily. "Young mistress, have mercy on me. I am a servant of the young marshal. I was ordered to protect young mistress." How could she do such a treasonous thing? Qiuju was crying with snot and tears. She was serious. Scared. The worst thing for a woman is to be raped and defiled, if it falls into the hands of Ye Changjin. Being able to be acquired by a man is already a blessing. What I'm afraid of is that I can't survive, but I can't survive. She was trembling all over. Soldiers had already gone to notify Ye Changjin. She had to convince Tang Lily before Ye Changjin arrived. The only person who could comfort the uncertain and devilish man was the one in front of her. This gentle young lady. Please, young lady, be aware of this. Lily sneered without blinking. What do you mean? I don't know right from wrong and have wronged you, she said. I don't know if it was influenced by the original owner, but tears flowed down. I lost my child, Tang Bei had been pregnant for more than 7 months, and she just witnessed the child passing away soon. When the child was about to be born, Marong did this on purpose. She wanted Tang Bei to have deep hope and love for this child. Once she lost her, it would be heartbreaking pain. This way she could let Lily remember the pain deeply and cause problems in her mind to create opportunities for herself. The most important thing is that Marong's family is gone like this. She wants all the family members to taste her heartbreaking pain and make them pay the price of blood for their parents and relatives. Chiuju had a guilty conscience to begin with. She was not a person with no conscience. She just joined the underground party and had to sacrifice everything for the revolutionary cause. In fact, she felt guilty about Tang Bei. At this moment, Lily felt after saying that, she lowered her head and was speechless. Lily cried for a while, and suddenly a large number of footsteps came in from outside. She could hear that she was very anxious. This body truly loved Ye Changjin. Tang Lily to her husband, he could even distinguish the sound of footsteps. Thanks to Tang Lily, Lily could also tell that the leader was Ye Changjin. She pretended to be overwhelmed and cried and fell on the bed. Sure enough, she was wearing a specially made military shirt on her upper body and dark green fitted military trousers on her lower body. Ye Changjin, who was wearing heavy military boots with black solace and leading 2 personal guards, was the first to appear in front of Lily. Ye Changjin's footsteps were neither urgent nor slow as he walked, just like the feeling he gave others, aloof and a bit depressing. He didn't have any weapons on his body, his figure was slender and straight, and he looked very majestic. What's wrong? Why are you crying? He has a pair of slender red phoenix eyes, the corners of which are raised upward, giving people a gentle and elegant feeling with a bit of evil. He has a very good appearance. Although this man in Nanhua City the young marshal is ruthless and moody, but there are also many girls who like him. When Ye Kailiang chose the girl from Tang Mansion for him, many women bitten the handkerchief behind his back. However, Ye Changjin did not have a very good temper, and he beat people to death when he was still a teenager. Because of this, Ye Kailiang restricted him and did not allow him to carry a pistol with him. Even if he did bring a pistol, it would definitely be insured. He is not the kind who kills people in a fit of anger. In the past 2 years, his temper has become more tempered. There are still many people who are afraid of him. Many people secretly call him a devil, but such a volatile man can only be found in Tang Lily. It seems that he will take off his disguise and become gentle and patient. Lily shuddered involuntarily when she heard his soft tone. Ye Changjin gave her the same feeling as when she first met Rong Li. There was a bit of blood under his calm and gentle smile, which made people involuntarily scared. He looks handsome, but there is a bit of sharpness in the corners of his eyes and eyebrows, and his eyes seem to be covered with a layer of blood at any time, showing a bit of cruelty. I'm sorry, Brother Yanjin, I couldn't protect our child. Lily lowered her voice involuntarily. The Yanjin in front of her was very dangerous. She felt like her legs were weak even when she was talking to him. Shivering under control, blood seemed to gush out from under her body again, and Lily suddenly had a sweet smell of blood. Ye Changjin is also someone who often swims in the blood of corpses. His hands are stained with fishy smell. As soon as the smell emerges from Lily's body, he smells it. His eyes can't help but become more sinister. He glances at Chiuju, who is kneeling on the ground. Sitting down, she carefully reached out and held Lily in her arms, as if holding a fragile treasure. The muscles on his body were strong, and Tang Lily's body was too delicate. She was as soft as if she had no bones. Now that she was hugged by him, Lily felt a little pain from being touched by him. She couldn't help but struggle twice, her slim waist, hands, and feet when she touched his belt buckle and the buttons on his shirt. She frowned in discomfort. That's her. Ye Changjin allowed her to turn around in his arms and find a comfortable position to lean on. The smile at the corner of his mouth became deeper, but the sinister look in his eyes became stronger. His personal guard saw Lily's bold behavior caused a layer of cold sweat to break out on her back, and Chiuju's body shivered involuntarily. Lily nodded without hesitation. Although she could guess that Chiuju might not end well with Yejinjin's character, Chiuju should have expected this result when she chose this path, let alone Chiuju. No matter what fate she got, she was just trying to atone for the consequences of the original owner, so Lily was not soft-hearted at all. Ye Changjin looked down at her with a half-smile, a bit of amazement in his eyes. If a child can teach you to be cruel, I don't know whether I should be happy or disappointed. His voice was soft, and it sounded like a simple sigh, but it made people shiver. Lily thought about the meaning in his words. Meaning, he is saying that he has learned to hate himself after losing his child and is actually distressed by it. What's the trouble? Is it because she lost her child, or is it because she has learned to be strong and is no longer the same as before? Lily felt a little cold at first. She could guess that this might be the original owner's emotions. According to what the mysterious man in the starry sky said, as long as her mental strength is not enough, she might still be affected by the original owner's instinctive emotions. Just like Panjinlian instinctively hated Wu Dalan back then. In fact, whether Ye Changjin was good or bad had nothing to do with her, but just now she still instinctively felt a little sad because of Ye Changjin's words. Take her down first and play with her. Ye Changjin frowned when he saw Lily's pale face for a moment. His personal guard responded, dragging the limp Chiu, who was almost scared to death. Ju went out. The bed was very clean and fresh, with the fragrance of Tang Lily's body still on it. Ye Yanjin hugged Lily and pressed her under him. His lips moved gently on her forehead, feeling that the soft female body under her body was a little bit stiff. He chuckled twice. When he heard her breathing, thinking that she had just lost her child today, he quickly lay down and held her in his arms. Ziahe, it's my fault. I couldn't protect you. This arrogant man, who never bowed his head to admit his mistakes in front of the Commander-in-Chief Kyle Yang, would actually apologize and admit his mistakes to her now. Lily couldn't help but gasp when she thought of Ye Changjin's character in the plot. The smile on Ye Changjin's lips deepened. I feel sorry for losing the child, and I won't blame you. I'm just worried that you will feel uncomfortable. In fact, I hope you can be more cruel, but I am afraid that you will be too cruel and even I will be turned away. Tell me, what should I do? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 85. At this moment, Ye Changjin didn't have any murderous intent at all. He seemed to be very relaxed. His eyes were filled with the reflection of Lily's, and there was a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. He looked handsome and charming. Lily was trapped in his arms and had no choice but to look up at him. She thought of the original owner's wishes and resentment in her mind. She was afraid that Ye Changjin could see her thoughts clearly. She lowered her eyelids and looked down at his chest. I don't like Lu Rong. I feel uncomfortable with the way she looks at you. Ye Changjin's eyes seemed to show a strange light for a moment, and then turned into a dark and incomprehensible expression. The smile at the corners of his mouth never reached his eyes. When he heard Lily's soft complaints, he stretched out his hand to touch. He stroked her hair and said softly, Ziahe doesn't like her. I know. I don't like her either. She's too narrow-minded and too self-righteous. But her name is not Lu Rong, but Ma Rong. Ye Changjin. Having said this, she chuckled softly, her chest vibrating slightly because of his laughter. Lily pressed her face against his chest, listening to his breathing in her ears, and her head shook involuntarily due to his chuckle. But he was both surprised and a little surprised. Ye Changjin actually knew who Marong was. He actually knew. Just as Lily was about to raise her head, Ye Changjin put his hand on her head and pressed it, not letting her move, but his eyes were very gentle. Strange why I said she is not Lurong? I originally wanted to keep her by your side to play with you and teach you some things, but now it seems that I still regret it. I really shouldn't have let her teach you. Look. My Zaya, he feels so uncomfortable right now. His tone was regretful, with a hint of helplessness and awe. His hand patted Lily's back gently and rhythmically. Sleep for a while, and you won't be able to see her when you wake up. He said this sentence categorically. Lily had just come here and had experienced so many things. After receiving the plot, she had a headache. So after listening to Ye Changjin's words, she closed her eyes. After her breathing gradually calmed down, Ye Changjin, who had been patting her gently, smiled deeper and deeper, and glanced meaningfully at the sleeping woman in his arms, who still had that familiar appearance. It's still the body he likes, but her whole person seems to have changed. She can hide it from others, but she can't hide it from him. Ye Changjin stretched out his hand and moved around her neck for a while. Finally, he heard Lily snort in discomfort and instinctively wanted to take his hand away. Then he laughed and took his hand back. Turning out of bed, Ye Changjin straightened his shirt that was a little messy and no longer straight, and walked out gently. After he closed the door, Lily, who was originally lying on the bed, opened her eyes. She is not practicing martial arts yet. Therefore, her six senses were not that sharp, and Ye Changjin did not wake her up when he struck. However, the strong murderous intention that suddenly appeared on his body still woke Lily up, making her break out in cold sweat with fear, but she did not dare to act rashly. How many times has it been since you felt like you were about to die? As if she would really die next moment, the cold and slender feeling fell on her neck and could not go away for a long time. Lily reached out and touched her neck. He didn't dare to sit up and closed his eyes again. Ye Changjin didn't kill her this time. Although she didn't know the reason, Lily felt it firsthand when people said that he was moody. The next day, Chiuju did not appear again, but was replaced by another girl named Saiking, who was still riding dressed the same as Chiuju, respectful yet scared. Living in front of a young girl was leisurely and boring. Fortunately, Lily could still practice martial arts. What she was most fortunate about now was that Ye Changjin didn't come to see her again. Lily was already a little wary of that man, and she took advantage of this time to go crazy. When Saiking saw her sitting quietly, she might actually be sitting blankly practicing martial arts, but on the surface she was just in a daze. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. Lily had not seen Ye Changjin even once in the past half-month. She was used to sleeping alone at night. Unlike the original owner who liked to sleep with the light on, she liked the darkness. Taking advantage of the darkness, she could practice the Nine-Yang manual without any scruples. Dinner was brought by the mother-in-law who was waiting at home. In the evening, it was obvious that the weather was a bit gloomy. As expected, Lily had just finished taking a bath at night, and strong winds and thunder started blowing outside. Lightning flashed across the sky, turning the original "The Dark Knight Shines Like Daylight." The curtains were not completely closed, and when the lightning came in, it gave the room an eerie feel. Lily is not afraid of this. She has actually done so many missions. What kind of fierce lightning has she not seen? She only opened her eyes and watched the flashes of darkness in the room. She didn't know when the door lock made a soft click sound. Her ears keenly caught the movement, and a cold smile couldn't help but appear at the corner of her mouth. A figure in black clothes slipped in, blending into the night in the darkness. Lily has now practiced martial arts. Although it has not reached a very advanced level, at least her eyesight is much better than before. When a bolt of lightning pierced the sky, she gasped, and at some point stood a man wearing black night clothes and a pale face beside the bed. No matter how bold he was, even if Lily was doing Tao Lily in the life when she was Tao Rangxing's daughter. Has also seen monsters, and even lived with a zombie king for most of her life, but Len Hai was also shocked when she saw the scene in front of her. After she saw the person in front of her clearly, Lily snorted coldly, sat up, and turned on the bedside lamp with a pop. "Marong, what do you want?" She thought Tang Lily would be scared and surprised when she saw her, but she didn't expect that she would see herself in such a calm scene. Marong was silent for a long time, and suddenly she laughed sinisterly. "Miss Tang, young mistress? How should I call you?" Her voice was faint, and her face looked a bit sinister in this night of thunder and lightning. She was naked, and a string of light pink watermarks fell down where she walked. Her steps seemed very heavy, her face was as pale as a piece of paper, and she looked weak, like a walking zombie. "You stopped talking." Seeing that Lily had no intention of answering her words, Marong suddenly seemed to be excited. "Why don't you die?" "Why? You see that I feel guilty now? Are you guilty? Or are you just like your evil murderous husband who doesn't know what guilt is?" Marong looked very excited at this moment. Lily subconsciously grabbed the sheets and glanced at her. "What do you mean? I do not understand." Hearing this, Marong seemed to have heard some big joke. She laughed until she leaned forward and backward with laughter, her body trembling. "You don't understand? Ye Changjin, a demon who kills people without batting an eyelid, he not a human, he is not a human, you know? Don't you understand? You don't understand why you know my name is Marong? Are you deliberately watching my jokes? Are you deliberately hiding in the dark to watch my jokes?" she said later. Shensi shouted at the top of her lungs, looking very ferocious and crazy. Because her skin was pale and the veins on her forehead were beating around, she looked very weird and terrifying. "Chuju has been defiled by a group of men now. Are you happy? She has served you for so long and has worked hard without any credit. You have caused her such misery. You said it was her." Lily heard Marong scolding her harshly. Only then did he realize that Ye Changjin had promised himself last time that if she woke up, he would never see Marong again. "Because of this, I am afraid that Marong and Chuju, the two of them, were in bad luck." Thinking of this, Lily couldn't help but sneered and interrupted Marong. "I am indeed happy. She has served me for so long and has evil intentions. She deserves to die." Chuju serves the Communist Party. This is her freedom, but she should never do it for her so-called righteousness. Many human lives are regarded as nothing. This body was originally aloof from the world, with a gentle and kind temperament, but it was persecuted several times by Marong and Chuju. Finally, it was ravaged by a group of foreigners, and finally committed suicide. Chuju is now she deserved to be gang raped by a group of men, and she was just trying to atone for the sins of the original owner. Marong probably didn't expect Lily to say such a thing, so she couldn't help being surprised. Her eyes widened, and she said grimly, "You deserve to die, you deserve to die, you deserve to go to hell with Ye Changjin." As she said this, she took out the pistol in her arms and tied it tightly with a cloth strip. I don't know how she hid it. Lily's pupils shrank. She had just practiced martial arts at this moment, and the effect of strengthening her body could be seen, but the real fighting power was too bad. Even compared with people with bare hands, she might not be able to beat them. This time Marong actually used a pistol, and Lily was secretly worried when a sound of clapping came softly. The room was already large and extremely spacious, but now the applause suddenly sounded, like an echo in the room. "Good performance." Ye Changjin's feminine voice came. People who had not seen him yet heard this voice, and people got goosebumps for no reason. Marong was even more frightened. It was probably because of Ye Changjin's the psychological pressure she caused was so great that her hand holding the gun started to tremble. Ye Changjin, with wet hair on his head, turned in from the outside. There was no one behind him. He was still dressed as a soldier. A pair of military boots perfectly showed off his slender and straight legs. He looked handsome and charming. He was clapping his hands at the moment, and a few strands of wet hair hung down under his eyebrows, covering most of his slender eyes. Water droplets flowed down his eyelids, but he didn't even blink. The whole person was gloomy and full of hostility, and Lily seemed to smell the bloody smell on his body, which was so strong that it made people want to vomit. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 86. P.S. Mi Feng's cute meow arrives. Let's watch the cute meow girl jumping up and down to disturb the three realms. The second update is here. The reborn female protagonist, completely satisfied with the original story. I will read it again and again. I will make you faint. Then everyone obediently voted for me. If you have the ability, you can still run here. After escaping, his thin lips moved, a slight smile appeared, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Those trash. Marong's face turned pale when she saw him. When she saw that he was alone, she didn't know if it was because of the unexpected surprise that she went crazy with joy. She opened her mouth and burst into laughter. You are alone? You are single? Just come here? Sure enough, this woman is very important to you, but you dare to come alone for her. There was resentment and complexity in her tone. Somehow, Lily could hear a bit of unwillingness. She looked at Marong. With a crazy look on his face, he couldn't help but wonder if Marong was in the process of seeking revenge, and I'm afraid it was time to fake it. After all, although Ye Changjin has a gloomy personality and a volatile temper, and is prone to betrayal and murder, he is extremely handsome, and due to his height, he has a temperament that no one else can describe. He is not the poor Lu Xianlin. The boy only knows that people who sneak and kidnap can be compared, especially since he was born in the army since he was a child, and he still has the smell of a tough guy in his body. Coupled with that evil spirit, the lethality to women will be doubled. Otherwise, the original owner Tang Lily wouldn't be able to pretend to be someone else as soon as she saw him. Knowing that Marong was seducing him, she swallowed her anger and was willing to share the same husband with Marong. It is indeed very important. You have found my weakness and threatened my Zai. But it is more effective for me than threatening my parents. Ye Changjin showed a troubled look, as if very distressed. The gun holster on his waist was empty. Marong could see clearly, but as if he didn't even notice the gun in Marong's hand, he walked towards Lily. My little Hey, are you scared? Marong's face twitched, she gritted her teeth and shouted sternly, don't come here again. Ye Changjin ignored her. Just seeing Lily trying to be calm, she walked directly to the bed, sat on it without taking off her shoes, and hugged Lily's body that was still trembling at the sight of the gun. Her eyes suddenly turned gloomy. He continued, you scared her, you deserve to die. His voice suddenly turned cold. Murderous intent came out of him. Marong's pupils shrank, and she instinctively raised her gun and shot at him. Because the distance was so close, Lily couldn't dodge the first shot. Ye Changjin was a vicious man. He actually pushed her off the bed. He blocked her with his body. There was a muffled sound of porphyry and the sound of bullets penetrating into flesh. Lily rolled down on the bed and frowned slightly when she saw Ye Changjin lying on the bed. She looked up at him and saw that his face was facing hers, and her pupils clearly showed that she was a little flustered and pale. His face came, and at this moment, he actually had a smile on the corner of his mouth. Did it hurt after the fall? Ha ha ha. Ye Changjin, I didn't expect that you are also a human being. You will also get hurt. Since you like her so much, you two should die together. Marong's crazy laughter came, and Lily saw that Ye Changjin was still lying on the ground. As he looked on the bed, he bit his lip and said anxiously, hurry up and hide. After hearing this, Ye Changjin grinned at her, with a hint of evil on his charming face. Then his eyes turned cold, and his body sprang up like lightning. Before Marong could fire the second shot, his hand had already it was stuck on Marong's neck like an iron clamp. Is it fun? He grew up in the army and was very good at close combat. Marong being so close just hurt him, but at the same time, being so close also gave Ye Changjin the opportunity to subdue her. At this moment, Ye Changjin stretched out his hand and pinched her throat bone, with a look of disgust on his face. You want to talk nonsense before killing people, and you also want revenge? If the Ma family has such virtue, they will die really badly. It's not unfair. When Lily heard this, her eyebrows twitched involuntarily. Ye Changjin actually knew who Marong was and understood why she entered the Ye family. He actually played with her for so long without saying a word. The key is this now, knowing what she was worried about, he still wanted to bring up this matter to irritate Marong. Isn't this adding fuel to the fire? Although Marong's neck was stuck by him, she still had a gun in her hand. Sure enough, Marong's eyes were bloodshot and red after hearing Ye Changjin's words, and she gasped loudly. Her pretty little face turned the color of pig liver, and she trembled as she reached for the gun to aim at it. Ye Yanjin. But in front of Ye Jinjin, Marong's move was unlikely to succeed. He easily took the gun off with only his injured arm, looked at it twice, and threw it on the bed. Trash is trash, and the pistol suits you. It's such a waste. You can't kill anyone if you have it. You want revenge? Unfortunately, besides seducing men, it seems you have no other option. This sentence made Marong even more excited and furious. She didn't know where she got the strength from, but she struggled more and more fiercely. For a moment, she bumped into Ye Changjin's injured arm. Ye Changjin's cheek twitched, but he pinched her tighter. Marong rolled her eyes and gasped, "Do you know about Lily Tang?" She struggled to say the sentence, but it was more effective than hitting Ye Changjin's wound after struggling before. Ye Changjin instinctively, as soon as she let go of her hand, Marong buried her head on Ye Changjin's chest, and even put her hand around Ye Changjin's waist. Lily could not help but be stunned for a moment when she saw Marong's little movements. She couldn't believe her eyes. Although she didn't see Marong at the moment, she had already guessed that Marong must have a troubled look on her face, but Lily originally thought Marong hated Ye Changjin, but now she couldn't help but wonder if she had guessed wrong. But Ye Changjin pushed Marong away in disgust, causing her to hit the foot of the bed hard. Itch. Marong stood up, wiped her mouth, and sneered softly. "You are so arrogant, why didn't I escape you?" She just deliberately retreated in order to advance. She knew that Ye Changjin didn't like to touch other women, and she knew that he was aloof. Now she tried it and it came true. But the sad thing is that she needs Ye Changjin to push her away personally when she wants to escape. It is conceivable that the way she showed off in front of him before did not leave the slightest impression in the mind of this cold-hearted man. It just brings him instinctive boredom. Thinking of this, Marong couldn't help but laugh. Lily was stunned by this magical turn of events. She saw Ye Changjin's actions and naturally understood the meaning of Marong's words. When she guessed that Marong might have a crush on Ye Changjin, Marong was already smart. She thought of using Ye Changjin's dislike for her to get away. Sure enough, compared with smart people, her IQ was indeed a bit inadequate. When Lily was a little sluggish, something happened next that made her even more sluggish. Marong stayed for a while because of the nonsense she said at the end. Ye Changjin came back to her senses and stepped forward, slapped her in the face, and knocked her to the ground with a pop sound. This time there was no more. He tried to restrain her with his own hands, but the slap made Marong's eyes flash with stars, and she could no longer stand up. How could she escape? So much nonsense. Ye Changjin knocked Marong to the ground and then sneered. Seeing Marong, who would have had a chance to escape just now, Lily's mouth twitched and she couldn't bear it. His face suddenly turned red. Ye Changjin stood up and walked to the phone and called someone to clean up the mess. He kicked Marong unconscious, who was still unwilling to sit up. He was wearing military boots and kicked Marong on the head. It was probably to knock her out. Even if he couldn't die, he would definitely be seriously injured. Ye Changjin had no sympathy for her at all. After kicking the person, he walked over to Lily. "Are you scared?" he asked Lily in an unusually gentle manner, as if he had changed from the fierce look just now. Lily was really frightened just now, especially when Marong appeared with a pistol. She almost thought that she was going to die. She might not be able to complete this mission, but Ye Changjin appeared. Next, Ye Changjin, although Jin was injured, his development was completely beyond Lily's expectation. Seeing Marong on the ground who didn't even say a word, and thinking of Ye Changjin's cold words just now, somehow she feeling a sense of joy. Lily shook her head when he asked again, biting her lips, but the corners of her mouth curved up. Seeing her weird expression, Ye Changjin also smiled, bent down and hugged her sideways. Seeing the suppressed smile at the corner of her mouth, he lowered his head and pressed a gentle kiss on her lips. Lily originally wanted to. She tried to hide, but in the end, she couldn't. A bloody smell hit her face. Before she could feel disgusted, Ye Changjin had already stood up straight. As soon as her body was in the air, she instinctively screamed and stretched out her hand. He hooked Ye Changjin's neck. It was probably because of her frightened expression that Ye Changjin found it a bit amusing. This ruthless man completely lost his vicious look before, and threw her up while chuckling softly. "Ah!" Amidst Lily's screams, he laughed loudly, and threw her several times. Only then did Lily get so frightened that she hugged his neck tightly and dared not make a sound. At this time, Ye Changjin smiled freely and openly, without his usual sinister aura or that forbidding feeling. He seemed very happy, like a simple child. The mission this time was really weird. When Lily carefully leaned her face against Ye Changjin's chest, her brows furrowed slightly. The people who cleaned up the mess soon appeared and dragged Marong down. Ye Changjin hugged Lily and walked downstairs slowly in the pouring rain towards another villa. Soon his bodyguard lifted him up. When the umbrella came over, he lowered his head and glanced at Lily, who was leaning softly in his arms, and hid under the umbrella. When he came to the place where Ye Changjin usually worked and rested, he first ordered someone to fill the bathtub with hot water. Then he carried Lily upstairs in his arms. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 87. At this moment, Ye Changjin began to take off his clothes, and Lily was stunned. "You wash first." Ye Changjin paused in taking off his clothes, then pulled his clothes unceremoniously, revealing the arm that had been pierced by a bullet. "It's injured, you have to wash it for me." The wound on his arm had drained all the blood. After being washed away by the rain, only a trace of blood was left. The surrounding flesh had turned white and looked very oozing. However, in addition to his pale complexion, he also had a strange look of pain. Even though they were not there, Lily hesitated for a moment. He had already pursed his lips and took off his pants first. "Sir." She began to desperately think of the handsome man in the space. Such a situation made her a little overwhelmed. Lily was not smart. All she had was some patience and persistence. Once she encountered such a situation, if her strength is not as good as others, she will most likely be eaten up. After calling several times, the handsome man's voice in the starry sky sounded, as cold as ever. "Is this how you usually call me?" Lily's face turned a little hot, and just as she was about to speak, the man's cold voice said again, "My name is Li Yangzi." Unexpectedly, she had done so many missions without knowing the man's real name. Now she knew it by chance. Lily paused, thinking that she had been helped by Li Yangzi when she became Wan Zhu's wife last time. However, he had made it clear that he was only helping her that time. She hesitated, and was about to ask again, but when she didn't know whether Li Yangzi would agree, he sighed softly. After a moment, he said. The last time he spoke in a tone that made Lily feel her soul floating lightly. Ye Changjin seemed to have finished taking off her clothes and was looking at her stupidly. He called her several times but she didn't say anything. Ye Changjin didn't know. He had already decided not to let her go, so he picked her up and entered the bathroom. Since Li Yangzi had already helped her, the final result was not beyond Lily's expectation. Ye Changjin seemed to have been patient for a long time and got Tang Lily's body very forcefully. Lily herself didn't know how to return to her body the next day. Fortunately, she had practiced the 9-yang manual before and completed the repair of the original owner's body that was injured during miscarriage, and it was a month later. Otherwise, she would not know whether it would harm the body. Ye Changjin was not around. When she woke up naked from the bed, the sun was shining brightly outside the window. It was as if he couldn't see the gloom from last night. As soon as she sat up, a wave of heat rushed out from her lower abdomen. The maid who had been waiting outside for a long time had already prepared breakfast. She put on her clothes with some difficulty, and someone came pushing breakfast. Where's the young marshal? Lily was also hungry, so she took the food from the maid and ate it. I asked. The maid listened to Lily's question with a respectful look on her face. Not daring to hesitate, he hurriedly replied, the young master went out early today. He told the young lady that if she wakes up, don't stop her and see what she wants to do. Tell the kitchen what she wants to eat. Ye Changjin really had nothing to say to Tang Beihe. Although he was cruel, he also understood that Tang Beihe was the young marshal's wife of the Ye family. There is absolutely no way that any servant would dare to look down on her. Where would anyone dare to stop her? In this place of Nanhua. Many people may be assassinated, but no one dares to snatch the pearls and emeralds from the Ye family of the marshal's mansion when they go out. Of course, there was no need for him to say anything about what Tang Lily wanted to eat, but now a person with his personality would actually say such things, which shows that he really likes to care in his heart, so he is willing to say these nonsense words that he knows but deliberately mentions. Lily didn't know what to say for a moment. She was stunned for a while holding the bowl. The maid didn't dare to say anything. After she responded softly, she put down the bowl. My room? Lily asked again, and the maid hurriedly said, the young master has already ordered people to clean it up, but he hopes that the young lady will live here in the future. Lily did not say anything, and the maid said after replying, she quickly pushed her uneaten food and went out again. He stayed in the room doing nothing all day long and practiced martial arts for most of the day. The discomfort in his body was relieved a lot at night. Ye Changjin came in wearing a straight military uniform, took off his equipment and threw it into the hands of his guards. He was tall and tall. The figure standing at the door blocked the scene in the room very tightly, but a pair of eagle-like eyes stared directly at the uneasy woman sitting on the bed. He took off his military uniform, entered the room, quickly closed the door, and walked towards Lily. I heard that you haven't gone out all day? Why are you so well behaved that it makes people feel bad? His voice was lower, and he reached out to hug Lily again. Lily originally wanted to hide, but this guy was extremely fast and caught him. She put her waist on her lap, lowered her head and buried her face in her neck for a while. The green shadows that emerged slightly on her chin and cheeks made Lily feel itchy. After struggling for a few times, he chuckled twice, resting his head on her petite shoulder. There's nothing fun for me when I go out. Lily thought for a moment that she didn't need to buy anything right now. No matter how precious the gadgets were at the moment, she was just a passerby. She couldn't take them with her or keep them, so she might as well do not need anything. A dark and inexplicable light flashed in Ye Changjin's eyes. He smiled slightly and rubbed her waist skillfully with his slender, calloused fingers. He was so cruel and ruthless when facing Marong yesterday. Even being hugged by her made him so sick. According to the ruthless character of a person like him, it is logically impossible for him to do such a thing that is obviously not good for him, but he just did it. Lily has also done so many missions. She has lived for a long time and has seen a lot of people and things. This is the first time she has seen a man like Ye Changjin. He is cruel and ruthless, but there seems to be something deep in her heart. A gentle and clean place, contradictory yet as if it should be like this. It is difficult to draw a conclusion for him. It can only be said to be a very contradictory and strange complex. I originally thought that living with Ye Changjin every day would not necessarily be easy for everyone based on his personality, but he is actually very busy. As a young marshal in South China, he does not only know romance as described in the plot. He is just living with women. In fact, most of Ye Changjin in the plot is not real. He is very good to Tang Bei, and he may not even have time to accompany Lily, let alone find time to spend a lot of time with Marong like in the plot. The passion unfolded. Since that day, Lily never saw Marong again. Ye Changjin came back every once in a while, and sometimes he would get some new injuries. He didn't pay much attention to his injuries, but he didn't pay much attention to them. Like the aloof wolf king who is willing to let others touch his wounds, the only one who can treat his wounds is Lily. At this time, he would stare at her with a look that even Lily couldn't see clearly, as if he was a little lost, a little sad, mixed with a bit of stubbornness and hesitation, and his expression was so complicated that people didn't dare to look at him directly. Those eyes. Half a year passed by like this. Lily had been practicing martial arts while Ye Changjin was away. Ye Changjin seemed to be very relieved of her and did not restrict where she could go. Lily almost thought that she was about to forget Marong and others. Thinking that her task this time was about to be completed easily, she was pregnant with another child. Although Ye Changjin doesn't come back often, he touches this body every time he comes back. Lily is not surprised that she is pregnant. She has done so many missions, and it is not the first time she is pregnant, so she is not panicked. When the maid called the doctor to confirm the news that she was pregnant with Ye Changjin's child instantly spread throughout the Ye family. Ye Kailiang, the only great warlord in Nanhua, had an only son like Ye Yingjin. It was naturally a great joy for Lily to be pregnant with the third-generation leader of the Ye family. Nanhua quickly spread the news, and at this time, another thing happened that was in line with the development of the plot. That is, Ye Kailiang and his wife, who have secretly left Nanhua for nearly a year, are finally returning to Nanhua. Although Ye Kailiang is the leader of Nanhua, the royal family of the old government, which is now in name only, summoned warlords from all walks of life to Beijing a year ago. Now the old government can no longer control the warlords who have established themselves in various places, just like the ancient Zhou emperor who divided the kingdoms. Generally speaking, the royal family only has a nice name, but is no longer able to appeal to those in power everywhere. People like Ye Kailiang who hold military power are even more powerful. However, for Ye Kailiang, a self-reliant local emperor who came out of the old school, what they lack most is an upright title. As if claiming the title of king is unjust, Ye Kailiang needs the court to give him a good reputation that allows him to claim the title of king. Even if he knows that such things cannot be eaten or drank, even in Nanhua, his name of Ye Kailiang has already been. He can suppress everything, but he still needs that false reputation. Because of this, the imperial court caught their shortcomings and forced the princes from all over the country to come to Beijing a year ago, probably to talk about splitting the country. A year ago, Ye Kailiang led his wife Ye Linyuzhen into the capital. A year later, chaos broke out in various places. They went into hiding again. After many assassinations, they finally returned to Nanhua. Ye Changjin is not at home, and the only person who is still in power is Lily. Not to mention that the outside world does not know about the news that Ye Kailiang and his wife left Nanhua. Even many people in the Ye family do not know about it. Even though it has been a year in the past, there were people in Nanhua city who suspected that due to Ye Changjin's vicious character, no one dared to ask. Anyway, after Ye Kailiang died and Ye Changjin was still around, who would dare to provoke this devil-like figure? In this world, it is easy to lose one's life, so many people just turn a blind eye and simply act as if they can't see through anything. Lily only found out about this later when she overheard Ye Changjin talking to her. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 88. Now that she heard that Ye Kailiang and his wife were back, Lily, the daughter-in-law, naturally wanted to greet Ye. The Ye family had already prepared a car. She was now 2 months pregnant, but her belly looked very flat. She saw it all the way in the car. When the car drove out of Ye's house, Lily lowered her head and did not waste this opportunity to practice. In the eyes of others, she just closed her eyes and rested, but she had already started practicing martial arts. Although cars were not a rare thing at this time, the Ye family's cars were all imported directly from abroad. Naturally, the people in Nanhua city also recognized them. When Lily didn't notice, many people had already focused on her location and followed quietly. The car drove for about an hour, and before it left the main urban area of Nanhua, a German car with a very unremarkable appearance was already driving in this direction. "Young lady, this is a handsome car." As soon as the driver in front finished speaking, the car stopped quickly. A woman wearing a form-fitting cheongsam embroidered with peony patterns, a pair of high heels, and a pure white silk satin shawl on her shoulders. The person walked out of the car. Her hair was tied back, with a bit of classical beauty, and she wore a huge and gorgeous hat. When the people in Nanhua city who were walking around did not notice, she walked towards Lily, and as soon as she got closer, the car door was opened, and she was helped into the car calmly. "Zia, long time no see." When the woman got in the car and took off her hat, she revealed Ye Linyuzhen's graceful face. It was the first time she saw her mother-in-law in this body. Although Ye Linyuzhen looked a little cold, there was a bit of kindness in her eyebrows, and she glanced at Lily's still flat belly. He smiled and said, "I heard that you are pregnant again. I sent a telegram from home. Your father and I are very anxious. Yangjin is not in Nanhua. How is everything?" When Lily heard Ye Linyuzhen's words, she realized that she thought she was isolated from the world at home all day long, but she forgot that besides the phone, there was also a telegraph. She saw Ye Linyuzhen's concerned tone. He nodded, "Thank you for your concern, mother. Father's trip to Beijing went smoothly, right?" A gentle smile appeared in Ye Linyuzhen's eyes. She suddenly stretched out her hand to touch Lily's head, then stretched out her hand to lick the long hair on her cheek and smooth it behind her ears. The action is very intimate. She cares about people. She refused to complain to us even if such a big thing happened at home. "Zia, did you think that because you married into the Ye family, you thought I was distant and you were afraid of me?" She said this. Only then did Lily remember that Tang Lily's mother and Ye Linyuzhen had been good friends in their boudoir before the original owner married into the Ye family. At that time, the two of them joked about getting married. Tang Lily and Ye Changjin had also met each other when they were young. Ye Linyuzhen had always liked her very much and treated her as his daughter-in-law, so Tang Lily and her had always had a very good relationship. On the contrary, after marrying into the Ye family, Ye Linyuzhen wanted to set aside time for her son and daughter-in-law to get along with each other. Secondly, at that time, Ye Kailiang was planning to enter Kyoto, but the relationship between her and Tang Bei became cold. This time Ye Linyuzhen returned to Nanhua. Tang Bei has been replaced by Lily, who is currently doing the task. Thinking of this, even if she is used to seeing life and death, Lily can't help but sigh. No matter what my mother said, I'm just afraid that no one will be afraid of Yuzhin's mother. Thinking of the name Yelin Yuzhin was called by the original owner in the memory, when Lily shouted like this, Yelin Yuzhin's eyes turned red and she nodded. Fortunately, you and Yanjin are still young, and now we have flesh and blood again. It's a great thing. But it's also lucky that Yanjin has tidied up that little hoof to prevent her from getting in your eyes. Otherwise, when I come back, I won't be able to have her such a good temper. But when Yelin Yuzhin said this, her expression was a little hesitant. She looked gentle, but in fact Lily knew from her memory that Yelin Yuzhin was sharp and clean, never acted sloppily, and had a thunder that was completely inconsistent with her weak appearance. With her methods and decisive character, she seemed a little hesitant in speaking. She hesitated for a moment. Just when she was about to ask a question, Yelin Yuzhin took a deep breath. Although Yanjin didn't tell me, your miscarriage this time must have something to do with the girl named Lu Rong next to you, right? I don't know why Yelin Yuzhin suddenly mentioned Lu Rong. Lily was stunned and nodded. How does mother know? Her words seemed to be an indirect admission, and Yelin Yuzhin's face turned gloomy for a moment. Tell me exactly what's going on. When Lily heard what she said, she didn't hesitate and told how Marong was killed by Ye Changjin and her whole family was wiped out. In the end, she was the only one left to escape. Then when she was suffering from hunger and illness, she was rescued by Tang Gongguan and followed her. As she married into the Ye family, she had already talked about how she wanted to use herself for revenge. As soon as she finished speaking, Yelin Yuzhin sneered. What a cheap hooves, you really are capable. After saying this, she seemed to be complaining, the same is true for Yanjin. He acts with no regard for the head and the tail. He cuts the weeds without uprooting them. They grow again with the spring breeze. The boy from the Lin family is now here. Nanhua City has become so chaotic that a clown can be allowed to do such nonsense right under his nose. After saying a few words to Ye Changjin in front of Lily, Yelin Yuzhin saw Lily lowering her head and saying nothing. With love and pity in his heart, he couldn't help but throw another bomb. Now Marong is with your father and was taken as his concubine. Unexpectedly, she had changed her fate this time and revealed Marong's true face in advance. She actually had the ability to skip a large section in front and proceed directly to the next section. Lily was shocked at this moment and said quickly, Marong? Isn't Marong dead? Yelin Yuzhin sneered twice, and played with the edge of the hat with her two well-maintained hands. The corners of her mouth curled up coldly, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. She was lucky enough to escape once. In your name, no one suspected me. It's quite careless. After she said this, looking at Lily's little mouth slightly open, she couldn't help but chuckle and pinched a handful, with an elegant smile on her face. There is a traitor in Nanhua City. Yelin Yuzhin knew clearly how much her son weighed after being able to escape from her son. Marong definitely did not have such great ability. The only thing that was certain was that there was definitely a traitor in Nanhua City. As one of the largest warlords in China, Nanhua City is also a piece of fat in the eyes of many people, and they wish they could swallow it in one gulp. The Ye family is so powerful, and there is a mix of good and bad among them. Yelin Yuzhin knows that some of them have ulterior motives behind their backs, but she didn't want to care about it in the past, but now it seems some people don't clean up because they think they and others don't know, and they jump violently at this moment. Lily was stunned at the moment. She didn't expect this seemingly simple task. At least in her mind, there were neither monsters nor martial arts heroes. The task this time was just to eliminate Marong and change the fate of the original owner. However, she did not expect that the force value this time was indeed very high. There are many, but it does not mean that the force value is not high. This mission is simple and has no lethality. It turns out that everyone has started playing mind games. For a person like her with an average IQ or even worse than average, Her situation is very dangerous when she is in a group of people with high IQs and no so-called court laws to govern her. Yelin only thought that her words had frightened Lily. She looked at the girl she had liked very much since she was a child with some pity and did not comfort her at the moment. Nanhua City is much more dangerous than Tang Lily imagined. In the past, she was taken under the wing of the people from the Tang Mansion and Ye Changjin, but sooner or later she would become the powerful woman in the Ye family. In the future, she will be the first wife who will be with Ye Changjin. No matter how many women Ye Changjin has in the future, she will have to shoulder the heavy responsibility of being the housewife of Nanhua City. In the past, Ye Linyuzhen couldn't bear to force her daughter-in-law, and saw that she was timid and cowardly, so she allowed her to escape from reality. But now, Ye Linyuzhen is a little happy to find that Tang Lily has changed, and she doesn't know if it is because being a mother makes her strong. After she became a mother, her child was killed by Marong. She looked much stronger than before, and she did not show fear or anxiety when she heard herself say such words. She was satisfied in her heart. She originally hated Marong deeply, but now her disgust towards her has subsided a bit. It seems that even if this person is no longer useful and deserves to die, he will die early or later. Everyone went back to the Ye family mansion. Lily was still thinking that Ye Linyuzhen had been married to the Ye family for many years and had a deep relationship with Ye Kailiang. Why not share a car with her? Unexpectedly, she got out of the car and stood waiting with her bag twisted. When Ye Linyuzhen got off the car, she saw Ye Kailiang getting out of the car wearing a mandarin jacket, holding a pipe in his hand, wearing a green leather hat, permed on the back and full of delicate curly hair, wearing a pink lace dress. With a full face, the squeamish Marong also twisted her skirt and got out of the car. When Ye Kailiang saw his daughter-in-law, there was still a hint of embarrassment in his eyes. He helped Marong get out of the car with one hand. When he saw Lily, he forced a smile and said, "Come, Zia, let me introduce you. He has an elegant temperament." As the former governor of Nanhua, Ye Kailiang's eyebrows are full of confidence and the aura of a superior. He led Marong over in a graceful manner, as if he didn't know that Marong had seen Lily before. Ye Linyuzhen's body stiffened, and she was about to speak, but she turned around and saw Lily with a smile on her face. She was not as hoarse as she had imagined. She sneered in her heart, and she swallowed the voice that she originally wanted to stop Ye Kailiang from swallowing. Marong had a smile on her face, but there was a bit of resentment hidden in her eyes. I don't know if Ye Kailiang really didn't see it, or because he was old and lost all his ambitions, so he was stunned when he saw beauty. Turned. "Kailiang, isn't this my young mistress? Do you really think I don't know you?" She covered her mouth delicately, and the muscles at the corners of her mouth twitched involuntarily, showing that she was not as calm as she appeared deep in her heart. Lily he also acted as if he suddenly realized. "Marong? It's you." To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 89. Lily's surprised look made Marong's smile freeze, but Ye Linyuzhen almost laughed. Then Lily frowned and looked at Marong up and down. Although she was not smart, if she wanted to act, who wouldn't? Meeting. She has done so many missions, and she has eaten more salt than Marong during her lifetime. She may not be able to match Marong in terms of IQ, but when it comes to acting, even 10 Marong can't catch up with her. "Mom, what's going on?" Lily stretched out her hand to cover her stomach as if she was overwhelmed, with a look of pain on her face. Ye Linyuzhen hurriedly hugged her, with a bit of worry in her eyes. Zia, are you okay? Don't faint." These words were like a signal. Lily glanced at Ye Linyuzhen. As if she couldn't bear it, she gasped twice, tilted her head and closed her eyes. In order to prevent herself from being exposed, She even deliberately, after arousing the 9-yin manual, his real power went backwards for a moment, and he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He couldn't even take a breath, and his vision went dark and he passed out. This was a true drowsiness, not just a wandering soul as usual. Ye Linyuzhen secretly praised Beihe's acting skills at first. When she went out on her own trip and was beaten up by others, she actually learned this trick. There was some pity, but she didn't expect that her tentacles touched Lily's body, and her body temperature dropped rapidly. Then she felt something was wrong, turned her head and glanced sharply at Marong, and shouted to the person next to her. "Please call the doctor quickly." As soon as she finished speaking, a car also drove in this direction. When Ye Linyuzhen was about to call someone to come over and pick up Lily together, a tall figure rushed out of the car. Quickly taking the lily from Ye Linyuzhen's hand, Ye Changjin pursed her lips tightly, with a sinister look in her slender eyes. She stretched out her hand to smooth the broken hair on Lily's cheek. Lily fainted for some reason. Her face looked bloodless and her body was a little cold. If her chest wasn't still rising and falling slightly, people might have thought she was dead. "I just met Marong. I was so excited that I might have lost my breath." When Ye Linyuzhen saw her son, her eyes showed joy, but she quickly pulled her shawl and explained to Ye Changjin. When Marong saw Ye Changjin from behind, with resentment and a bit of fear and disgust in his eyes, he threw himself into Ye Kailiang's arms. "Kailiang, I didn't mean it. Maybe Zaya, he just didn't want to see me." She finished her words. Ye Kailiang was just trying to coax her, but Ye Changjin put Lily in his arms. While striding forward, he twisted the back of Marong's collar and dragged her out of Ye Kailiang's arms. He took a few steps back. Marong couldn't help but take a few steps back. She was so frightened that her face turned pale. When she wanted to speak, Ye Changjin reached out and threw her to the ground. "If you can't shut up, believe it or not, I'll have your mouth branded." Ye Changjin's voice was gloomy, and Marong knew that he could do it. His face instantly turned pale, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Seeing Marong, Ye Kailiang was so frightened that he couldn't even speak for a moment. Although he liked this new woman, Ye Kailiang still shared the status of his legitimate son and concubine. It was clear that until Ye Changjin scolded Marong and hugged Lily, he also secretly praised his son-in-law for being very measured in doing things and not embarrassing Marong too much in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. Praised his son. Yang Jin managed the Ye family well this time. After saying this, Ye Kailiang was about to ask someone to pull Marong up, but Ye Jinjin grinned. "Father, if you really manage the Ye family properly, Marong will be like this. You bitch, can you still run away?" The word bitch made Ye Kailiang no longer able to say that Marong was his concubine. His face turned green and white for a while, and then Ye Jinjin picked up Lily and went into the house by himself. His room was in the garden about 10 steps away from the parking lot. Ye Linyuzhen glanced at her husband and chased Ye Yanjin without saying a word. The doctor was quickly called back and did a basic examination for her. Unexpectedly, no big problem was found at all, and everyone couldn't help but froze in place. It was Ye Linyuzhen who invited a famous Chinese medicine doctor from Nanhua City who was often used at home to come over and took out the pulse. He said that Lily's energy and blood were surging. Just out of breath. The symptom of retrograde movement that knocked Lily unconscious was similar to that of being so angry that she passed out. The old Chinese doctor took a silver needle and inserted it into Lily a few times. Only on the 7th injection did she let out a long breath. She woke up, playing a little too hard this time. Tang Lily's health was not that good originally, and now she is pregnant again. In order to add to Marong's pain, she woke up with a tightness and pain in her chest. "I'm afraid she will have to practice several times." After she finally breathed her last, Lily opened her eyes and saw Ye Changjin standing beside her, and couldn't help but froze. "Why are you back?" Ye Changjin sat on the edge of the bed, holding her hand in his palm with a cold expression. When he saw Lily waking up, a smile appeared on his face. "I will scare you unconscious when I see that bitch. Are you so cowardly?" He chuckled and cursed, stretched out his hand and flicked Lily's forehead. The force was very light, as if he was afraid of hurting her. His fingertips caressed Lily's forehead, and then reluctantly turned into he touched it with his palm. Lily forced a smile, showing a look of fear, and Yelin also showed pity in her eyes. She turned around and yelled at her son, "A woman can't kill her after doing it several times. She killed my grandson last time. This time, I almost scared Xiaohe." "Yanjin, when did you become so confused when doing things?" Although Yelin had a calm face when facing Yekailiang, you can imagine the sadness in her heart. Yekailiang and Yekailiang during their half-life as husband and wife, he did not welcome his concubine back when he was at his most powerful. It did not count her love life outside, but she did not bring her home anyway. Yelin turned a blind eye and pretended not to know, but this time it was different. Yekailiang could see that she was naturally resentful. "I have my own arrangements," Ye Changjin replied lightly, without even looking at Yelin. He just reached out and hugged Lily, letting her lean her upper body into his arms. After saying this, there was no more sound. As her son grew older and had his own ideas, it was not easy to force him no matter how hard he tried. Yelin sighed and said nothing more. As for this arrangement, there has been no movement for several months. On New Year's Eve, Lily's belly was already more than 4 months old and she started to show her pregnancy. Ye Changjin rarely went out during this period and came back to accompany her almost every day. During the Chinese New Year, when the Ye family had a family reunion dinner together, Yekailiang hugged her with a sweet smile on her face. Marong announced loudly to several people at home, "Rong already has my flesh and blood in her belly, and she will be my concubine from now on." I don't know if it was because he was canonized by the royal family after entering Beijing, but Zhang Kailiang began to be complacent. The woman he didn't like in the past has now become enthusiastic. He doesn't know whether to say that Marong has means, or that Yekailiang has relaxed his vigilance. Everyone at the table had different expressions. Yelin tightened her hands on the chopsticks and was about to speak, but Ye Changjin ignored Kailiang at all and instead took some vegetables and fed Lily. The two people were so affectionate that it was hard not to notice. Zhang Kailiang frowned, and Marong showed a bit of jealousy in her eyes. She was still afraid of Ye Changjin. She was so afraid that she didn't dare to look up at him. Staring at Lily without blinking. "Xiaohe, haven't you forgiven me yet?" Everything was a misunderstanding at the beginning. I have something to say to you." She stood up, but Ye Xingjin ignored her at all. Ye Kailiang's expression was ugly. "Xing Jinjin, did you hear what your aunt said? This is all just a misunderstanding. Renji really likes me, and now she no longer cares about you killing her whole family, but you have to apologize to me." When Yelin couldn't bear it anymore and was about to speak, Ye Changjin sneered and raised his eyebrows. "What did father say? What misunderstanding? I really want to kill her whole family." As soon as these words were spoken, Marong's face twisted. She couldn't bear it anymore, dropped the chopsticks in her hand, covered her mouth and ran away quickly. Yelin suppressed her laughter and stood up. "There are no rules, just run away." After she finished speaking, she left the scene with an angry expression. Ye Kai-hao took advantage of the excuse of having a reunion dinner at home to formally introduce Marong. Unexpectedly, he ended up with such a result. He was over 50, and it was only when he got old that he got such a sweetheart like Marong, and he was pregnant with her. Having given birth to his child, Ye Kai rarely felt soft in his conscience, and regarded Marong as very important. So on the next day of the Lunar New Year, he called his direct relatives in Nanhua to introduce Marong to his concubine. Instead of going through Yelin guidance, this move was like a slap in Yelin face, which made Yelin so angry that she could not recover for a long time. Nan Hua suddenly had many agents of the Kuomintang sneak in. Ye Changjin had people keep an eye on Nan Hua. Every time these people came, he would kill one or a pair, so he would bring them with him every day when he went out. A bit bloody, Marong is now Ye Kailiang's aunt, and it is more convenient than before. It is also easier for her to collect information about the Ye family. She does her best to collect the information and send it out, but she doesn't know they all fell into Ye Changjin's hands. Now that Ye Changjin had someone he wanted to protect, he no longer seemed so indifferent to the Ye family. Naturally, he didn't turn a cold shoulder to Marong like in the plot. He used the information given by Marong to massacre the Communist Party's lair. For a time, Nanhua City was filled with blood, but Marong was locked up in Ye's mansion and knew nothing at all. Ye Changjin asked someone to answer her questions. Just pretend that everything is under your control. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 90. After the Dragon Boat Festival in May, Lily was already very pregnant and could give birth at full term at any time. Ye Changjin had already cleaned up the Ye family. When he had strangled all the Communist Party members in Nanhua and only 2 or 3 were left who were frightened to death, Marong easily slipped into his small building and saw the person sitting there. Lily, who was embroidered with children's clothes on the chair, smiled ferociously. The whole of Nanhua is about to be occupied by the Communist Party. Ye Changjin has done many evil things. He will be shot, and you, as a remnant, will also go to hell with you. I will raise your children for you. For men? Guer, the girl is a prostitute, do you agree? Following her enemy, always being mentally oppressed by Ye Changjin, Marong was already on the verge of going crazy at any time, and she laughed. 2 sounds. I have handed over the news about the Ye family and some military plans to Brother Xianlin. He sent me the news that he will launch an attack tonight. If Ye Changjin is going to die, you will die too. Marong, I thought that I had already established a relationship with Lu Xianlin, and the two of them joined the anti-Japanese party that resisted the rule of the Ye family. Today, the news from Lu Xianlin was to ask her to serve as an internal agent. When it gets dark, he will lead the attack. When the Ye family comes, as long as the Ye family is captured, the whole Nanhua will be leaderless. Marong can take revenge. She will still be a meritorious minister in attacking Nanhua in the future. The Communist Party will not treat her lightly. It really kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Because of this, just after dinner, Marong couldn't wait to come over and show off to Lily. Her main purpose tonight was to force Lily to have a temporary attack and take advantage of this chaos. Then he worked with Lu Xianlin as an internal support and captured the Ye family. The plan was wonderful, but it was a pity that Marong had planned everything, but she didn't expect Lily to practice martial arts. No matter how short the time was, the martial arts she practiced had to deal with a woman like Marong, who was also 6 months pregnant. It was enough. Marong failed to cause turmoil in Lily's miscarriage. Instead, she was pinned to the ground by Lily. Fetal fluid. Except for Ye Kailiang, when the Ye family was in chaos, Ye Linyuzhen didn't move at all. He didn't care about her life or death and was just calling a doctor. Marong saw the busy scene of everyone in the villa and endured the uncomfortable feeling of abdominal pain to comfort herself. Although her purpose not achieved. But when a commotion was caused, there was a sound of clang metal collision outside, and the sound of rows of neat footsteps also reached her ears. The sound got closer and closer. When she opened her eyes, she saw at the door, a large group of people dressed in neat military uniforms burst in. Ye Kailiang's face changed greatly as he scolded the leader, Ye Yanjin, who was covered in blood. She sat up. Ye Changjin was instinctively afraid of Ye Changjin, but Ye Changjin pushed Ye Kailiang away and threw the thing in his hand towards her. It happened to hit her stomach, causing Marong to scream in pain. She stretched out her hand to subconsciously hold the thing, and when she touched her bloody nose and eyes, Marong almost didn't go crazy. Lu Xianlin's head. It's perfect for sending you on your way. Ye Changjin's voice seemed to come from hell. Marong screamed and shook her head. Amidst Ye Kailiang's roar, Ye Changjin had someone hold Marong down and, just like how she wanted to cause Tang Lily to have a miscarriage, he had someone cut open her belly and remove it. The formed boy was taken out. The person who used the knife was very measured, which made Marong heartbroken, but he couldn't kill anyone for a while. The intestines and internal organs were exposed in front of everyone, but Ye Changjin didn't even frown. You want to plot against my people? This is just repayment for you. When Ye Kailiang saw such a bloody caesarean section to take out the child, he couldn't catch his breath and passed out. Marong's face was as golden as paper, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth after she gritted her teeth and bit her tongue in pain. When she heard Ye Changjin, she kept saying this. Why, evil, evil, evil retribution. She is the victim, she is the one who killed her whole family by Ye Changjin. I don't know what happened tonight, but she was killed by the devil Ye Changjin. Knowing that he actually killed brother Xianlin, he also killed her in the same way. Although Marong said that she originally lived for revenge, but when she saw someone being killed before she was about to win, a sense of unwillingness arose in her heart. At this moment, she no longer dared to hate Ye Changjin or seek revenge. This vicious and vicious man had planted a firm fear in her heart. She was just unwilling to accept her failure like this. Bloodstains covered the bed. This night was a turmoil for the Ye family and the entire Nanhua city. Ye Changjin had Marong buried, and at the same time he took over the direct forces belonging to Ye Kailiang in the army. He just didn't want to fight before. After all, it will all be his sooner or later. With Ye Kailiang supporting him, he can do whatever he wants. People will use him as an excuse because he has not matured and grown up. But now he doesn't want to wait anymore. Ye Kailiang actually wants to step on his head. If it's just for himself, but he can't bear that his wife is also being tortured like this. For Ye Kailiang's direct descendants, if they are willing to surrender, they will naturally hang their guns and not kill them. But if they encounter desperate resistance, as long as even one person in a small team dares to disobey, they will all be killed. Ye Changjin's ruthless methods and iron-blooded behavior quickly suppressed the turmoil, and successfully captured Ye Kailiang's power. From then on, there was only one person in power in Nanhua, and that was him. Lily had a seizure in the middle of the night. She didn't know anything about what was going on outside the small building. After the bloody night, when Ye Changjin stepped into his garden full of blood, a loud cry of a baby rang out in the house, and he grinned. Smiling, he put the pistol that was already stained with blood back into his waist. When he went upstairs, several midwives had just washed the baby and took it out. When they saw the evil-looking Ye Changjin, they were trembling with fear. Putting the child in his arms, Ye Changjin looked at the son who was connected to him by blood and laughed softly. Li Yangzi in the starry sky still loves Lily very much. Except for the moment when the stomachache broke out, which she had to bear by herself, the real pain of childbirth had already taken her soul out of her body. When Lily returned to her body, it was already after she had successfully given birth. Ye Changjin's head and face were covered in blood, but he couldn't hide the handsome and evil look in his brows, which not only made him murderous, but also added a bit of evil charm. The child had changed a lot since he was born that night. When Ye Kailiang woke up, the situation was over. He didn't expect that he would give up all the rights in his hands and give up the entire Nanhua country for a woman. He also didn't expect that his son would be so capable of evading him so completely. He had treated the royal family in this way before. Now that the situation was changing, Ye Liang couldn't help but smile bitterly. Fortunately, when he saw that the things had not fallen into the hands of others, Lily gave birth to a son again. Ye Liang could only comfort himself in the end and hand over all his rights. It was a gift for his grandson. Even so, he seemed to be half under house arrest by Ye Changjin. He lived a miserable life and soon died young. Although he did not die as early as in the plot, he also it's not much better. The final result is nothing more than a glorious funeral. Ye Changjin was cruel and ruthless in his life. There were many people who were afraid of him, and there were also many people who scolded him. However, under his rule, when war broke out everywhere in Nanhua, Nanhua seemed to be in another world. Many people in power while the people were afraid of Ye Jinjin. Some people were grateful for Ye Jinjin's kindness. No matter how bad he was, he protected these helpless people under his wings safely, but he was indisputable fact. The plot had already changed the moment Lily gave birth. Without the success of Lu Xianlin later, and naturally without the existence of Marong, Lily's task this time seemed simple, but she got through it with great difficulty. No matter how many people scold Ye Yanjin, he has a great reputation. But in this life, he may be criticized for his actions, but he has never had any thoughts of betrayal towards his wife. He just protects Tang Bei like this. A lifetime passed. Lily's body was originally traumatized by the miscarriage, so she didn't live long. Even the doctor came to see her after the birth and said that she was too fragile to give birth again. Ye Changjin only had one son in this life, and he would never give birth to another son. She was not asked to have more children, but even with such careful care, she was still weak before she reached old age. Who are you? Who are you? Tell me, the feeling of dying is not unfamiliar. Lily has tasted it many times. She did not struggle and waited for herself to reappear in the space. Ye Hanjin held her hand tightly, as if he was very anxious. His voice reached Lily's ears through the mist, making her eyelids move involuntarily. Who is it? He was over 40 years old, but he looked as if he was in his 30s. There was a bit of coldness and majesty in his voice. At this moment, he lost his usual calmness, as if he was in an abnormal panic. For the first time, Lily feeling that he was like this, I wanted to laugh, but then I almost couldn't laugh. Ye Changjin acted cautiously. He never talked nonsense easily. Now he asked himself who he was. Could it be that he has already noticed something in his many years of life? He asked again. Lily felt that her body was gradually losing its vitality, but she could still hear Ye Changjin's voice. Who are you? Her eyes widened, and she felt as if someone was pulling her. On the one hand, it is pulling myself to leave, and on the other hand, it is pulling myself to stay. Lily was speechless. She was a little horrified to see her soul move out lightly. When she woke up the next moment, she was not in space, but could see Ye Changjin hugging her body tightly, with a look on his face. The sinister bird of prey. No matter who you are, I will still find you again. As soon as he finished speaking, Lily's vision went dark and she reappeared in the starry sky. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 91. There was a little accident just now, so it delayed you for a while. Li Yangzi's voice rang out. Thinking of Ye Changjin's cold tone, Lily felt a little cold at the moment, and shook her head subconsciously. While he was talking, Li Yangzi's figure appeared in the starry sky. His expression was cold and somewhat solemn. This mission is a bit beyond my expectation. I will give you some compensation. Li Yangzi, who is the target of the mission, he actually saw the difference between Lily and the original owner, and even managed to get such powerful mental power from nowhere because of this, almost leaving Lily, whose mental power was much weaker than his, in that space. Thinking of this, Li Yangzi's expression became even colder, as if frost could be scraped off his face. He nodded towards Lily. This mission was my mistake. I can give you a preferential treatment. When she heard this, Lily couldn't help but perked up. She still felt as if Ye Changjin wanted to forcibly imprison her just now. That feeling was very uncomfortable and made her instinctively feel a little scared, but now when I heard Li Yangzi said that he wanted to give himself a preferential treatment, I thought that the preferential treatment that Li Yangzi said every time during the mission was good. Even if there was almost trouble this time, there was no trouble in the end. If I could get another one, the benefits will definitely be of great help to your future tasks. Thank you. Seeing Lily's eyes shining, Li Yangzi couldn't help but twitching his lips. The preferential treatment I will give you is that if you do not want to force yourself to complete plot missions in the future, then in that round I'm here again during the mission. I will agree to your request and help you exit the original owner's body. This condition seems to be much more beneficial than Lily originally imagined. She originally thought that after going through Wan Zhu's mission, this time under Ye Changjin's strength, she thought that she would no longer be able to do it. She asked Li Yangzi to help her, but unexpectedly he said he could help her. Lily's eyes lit up, and she quickly said gratefully, "Thank you." It can be seen that she is very satisfied with this condition, although she is not promised how many attribute points she will add in the future. But as if she could accept it as long as she was not allowed to have any substantial relationship with the mission target. Li Yangzi's eyes showed a look of satisfaction, and Lily's face looked even better, and the frost on her brows and corners of her eyes seemed to have faded. Many. Very good, this time I will make an exception and give you 2 points. See where you want to add them. Li Yangzi glanced at Lily, and suddenly waved his sleeves, and Lily's information suddenly appeared again in the starry sky. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 57, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 14, out of 100 points. Spirit, 11, out of 100. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialty, Beginner Cooking Skills. Charisma, 24, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. Lily could clearly see in the information this time that except for the charm and force, which had increased a little each, the other attributes had not been touched. She thought of the 2 attribute values that Li Yangzi promised to give her this time. I couldn't help but feel happy. I originally wanted to increase my intelligence without hesitation. But thinking about the pain she felt every time she sent the plot when she was not mentally strong enough, she hesitated, gritted her teeth, and thought about it. She was afraid that Li Yangzi would become impatient, so she said cruelly, I want to add it to intelligence, although mental power is useful. But it is not the most critical, compared to intelligence. Her mental strength is a bit weak, unless she encounters someone who is stronger than her and will be affected. At most, she will have to suffer a little while accepting the plot. But this time Lily saw Yejinjin, Marong, etc. People's battles of wits and courage are not without size in their hearts. Due to her lack of IQ, sometimes she will have a good idea in a flash of inspiration, but she will forget everything in just a moment at most. Normally she will when entering the plot. The original owners are not good at martial arts. If they are not good at martial arts and cannot compete with others intellectually, they will only suffer a loss. Lily has done so many tasks and knows the importance of intelligence, so she hesitated for a long time and was still ready to add intelligence. Li Yangzi nodded, and the information about Lily in the starry sky became: gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 59, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 14, out of 100 points. Spirit, 11, out of 100. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialty, Beginner Cooking Skills. Charisma, 24, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. Seeing that her intelligence was now only a little bit close to reaching the standard of a normal person, Lily couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. A slight smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Just when she was about to speak, Li Yangzi asked coldly, "Do you want to enter the mission again?" When Lily heard this, she nodded without hesitation. "I want to enter the mission." She now saw that her various information was slowly improving, and her intelligence was only a little short of reaching 60. She hoped that she hurry up and do the tasks to increase your intelligence. Although her talent may not be that smart, in terms of diligence, there are not many people who can match her since she was a child. Li Yangzi's voice didn't come again. Lily waited until she felt dizzy, but before she opened her eyes, a woman's shrill and angry yelling came to her ears. "You have to take good care of your own body. Don't forget, this is not just for you, but for your brother. If you dare to do such a thing next time, be careful, I will lock you up at home." "You don't want to go anywhere," this sharp female voice sounded, and Lily's body shivered instinctively. The huge amount of information in her mind was transmitted into her mind, making her head swell and ache. A feeling of resentment also emerged in my heart. This body's surname is Lu, also called Lily. The Lu family gave birth to a son and 2 daughters in total. The eldest son Lu Gentao is what the woman just called the eldest brother, and the eldest daughter is named Lu Qinhe, who is the sister of this body. The youngest daughter is Lu Beihe. It can be said that Lily Lu was a tragedy when she was born. She was born with the expectations of her parents. It's a pity that this expectation is not for her love, but for Lu Gentao's love. Lu Gentao had a congenital coagulation disorder since he was born. As he got older, his health became worse and worse. The Lu family carefully raised their son until he was 6 years old. During this period, doctors issued countless critical illness notices, but Lu Gentao was rescued every time. The Lu family and his wife were childhood sweethearts, and they loved each other very passionately. The birth of this eldest son should have been the fruit of their love. You should like it very much. But such a change suddenly occurred in their fine family. The Lu family almost cried their eyes out. And seek medical advice everywhere. After trying all kinds of folk remedies, a well-known foreign medical professor made an excellent suggestion to the Lu family and his wife, which was to give birth to a child and use the newborn umbilical cord blood as the key to treating Lu Gentao. The Lu family had also heard about the role of umbilical cord blood, and after learning about this method, overjoyed, he eagerly agreed. The 2 of them were originally from well-to-do families, so they didn't have to worry about money. For the sake of Lu Gentao's body, the 2 of them put down their original jobs as university professors and started making babies. After giving birth to their daughter Lu Qinhe, the umbilical cord blood unfortunately ran out, but Lu Qinhe's physical parameters did not match Lu Gentao's. The Lu family was extremely disappointed and decided to have another child to save the life of their eldest son. With the continuous efforts of the 2 of them, when Lu Gentao was almost 11 years old, the couple finally gave birth to a daughter again. What made the Lu family couple ecstatic was that in addition to the use of umbilical cord blood, this daughter's all indicators are consistent with Lu Gentao's, which is great news for the Lu family. Lu Gentao's health is getting worse as he gets older. The doctor said that if his illness becomes serious in the future, he may eventually die. It will require a bone marrow transplant, and there are not many people in the world who can donate bone marrow. After all, many people in China do not know clearly about bone marrow donation, and their husband and wife are not compatible with their son in all aspects. This is exactly what they are worried about. At the time, I didn't expect that the daughter born from this pregnancy would be a perfect match for the son. Since childhood, Lily's food and drink have all been prepared strictly according to the nutritional balance. The Lu family's goal is to keep her in a healthy body at all times, contribute to her son when necessary, and achieve nutritional balance. The food was not as delicious as expected. When she was young, Lily Lu would swallow a lot of vitamin tablets 3 times a day. For a child who had not even eaten snacks since birth, Lily Lu's life is very boring. When other people's children have been eating snacks since childhood, she has never eaten even the most ordinary lollipop. In the eyes of others, her parents who love her very much will treat her very badly once something bad happens to her body. It was particularly severe. The Lu family gave birth to 3 children in total, but apart from the eldest son Lu Gentao, only the youngest daughter Lu Beihe was the most favored. Lu Qinhe was like a picked-up child, but no one knew that Lu Beihe, who was so loved, felt deeply in his heart. I don't know how many times I have envied my sister's freedom. As he grew older, Lu Gentao had an illness when he was 14 years old. His condition was so critical that he needed immediate surgery. The Lu family did not hesitate to sign for their daughter Lu Beihe, who was only 3 years old. She donated bone marrow. Many people may not know much about bone marrow donation. The impact of bone marrow extraction on the body is not as serious as cutting off an organ. However, the pain during bone marrow extraction is unbearable for ordinary people. The 3-year-old girl unknowingly endured the pain that many adults could not endure and extracted bone marrow to save her eldest brother's life. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. P.S. There are 2 updates today. In the second update, they asked whether it was at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock. A girl in our author group posted at 7 o'clock and actually said that there were too many people and she couldn't post it. Feels so awesome. I really want this too.